entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I am joined, as always, by Keelan. Hey, man. How you doing? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. What's going on, brother?
Not too bad, not too bad. Another day in paradise, another week on Screen Time Continuum. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Marvel Phase 2, a post-mortem. This is a continuation of our post-mortem I guess playlist maybe for the Marvel franchise. The last episode we did was Phase 1. We talked about all the movies in that, which ones were our favorites, which ones were meh. And we're going to be doing the same for this episode and focusing on Phase 2. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's a pop culture crisis episode, so this is going to be a much more relaxed conversation. We're not reviewing anything in particular. We're going to talk about each of these movies and then let you guys know which one's our favorite and maybe which one's our least favorite. I hope that sounds good to everybody out there. Please consider giving us a thumbs up and a subscription to our YouTube page. We're almost at 150 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. We really appreciate it. All right, let's get into this, Keelan. Marvel Phase 2. I can give you the lineup of the movies, and then we can start talking about it. The first one is Iron Man 3 in 2013. The second movie is Thor: The Dark World in 2013. Then the third is Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014. And we have Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014. Then we have Avengers: Age of Ultron in 2015. And rounding out number 6 is Ant-Man at 2015 as well. So those are the 6 movies we're going to be speaking of. Keelan, do you want to give any first impressions? How do you want to start this off?
I can give a little bit of first impressions and some information actually that
Sure.
I have about Marvel Phase 2. So as we know, Marvel Phase 2 is the second stint of the phases. I don't think the phases were actually announced until after Phase 2, right around the middle of Phase 3. But the 2 highest earning movies of this phase are Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron, as well as or is it Infinity War? I think it's Age of Ultron. But Iron Man 3 is the highest earning for sure. And the original budget for this entire phase is $1.18 billion, so $1.2 billion. And the box office brung in $5.3 billion. So they made their money plus some. And it shows to me that there was a time where we were all really interested in what was coming next. I don't know how they made that much money with the movies that are on this particular phase, but yeah, that's pretty much my first impressions. Is I don't know how they made as much money as they did, because these are not the movies that are most discussed when you discuss the MCU, and this is still the introductory phase.
Yeah, very much so. And I think maybe it's just off the goodwill of I think honestly it was off of the goodwill of the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie. I think after the first Avengers movie, everybody was like, oh, there's going to be team ups now. And so this sort of culminates in this phase with Age of Ultron, because every phase has an Avengers movie. And I think that's kind of what they baited the audience with, was every phase is going to have an Avengers movie. Come find out which Avengers are going to be a part of it.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, and that's probably why. It'll be interesting to see what the Phase 3 numbers are for our next episode, because that's going to be probably a bigger discrepancy, but not bad. They made their money back. That's for sure.
Oh, no, they definitely made their money back. No question on this one, they made their money back.
Very solid investment, that's for sure. In the span of only 3 years, 2013 to 2000, 2 years. In 2 years, there were 6 movies.
Well, let's Let's call it 3 because you got to count shooting. Maybe 4.
Fair enough. And yeah, there might have been a little bit of overlap there for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3.
Boy,
My
oh
first,
boy.
really quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this multiple times in this particular phase. I think I saw parts of Iron Man 3, but I'm not sure if I've seen this entire movie.
I've seen it. Yeah.
In my research, though, it said something about in 1999.
There is a flashback, I believe.
Flashback.
Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure. I do remember that most of Iron Man 3 is revolving around Tony's anxiety from the first Avengers movie,
Right.
where he almost dies. And this is the
Right.
one where he gets a lot of panic attacks. I think this is also the one where he gets drunk at the party and he's in his Iron Man suit.
You know what? Yeah, I think it is. Because this is the one where Iron Patriot is introduced. Extremists. Oh, maybe I did see this movie.
And then, of course, you have the fake Mandarin in this movie.
Yeah. You have the fake. Oh, I did see this movie because you have this fake Mandarin and what's his name? Killian,
who is apparently the real Mandarin, but not really.
Right, but not really. And that's when it clicked to me when I was looking through it again. When they got to that part, the real Mandarin, I was like, that's not the. I remember this movie.
This is also the introductory to Rescue as well.
Yep, 1,000%. Because Pepper is infected with extremists, and that's her first time having to actually use the Iron Man suit. Yeah, yeah. Wow. I really thought I hadn't seen this movie. Never mind.
Yeah, it's not the greatest of the Iron Man trilogy. I think it might. Yeah, it's probably below the first two, I would think.
Actually, so I learned something when I was looking up Iron Man 3. Well, I remember also Tony steps down as Iron Man, but I learned. So remember in what's that Endgame where they have Tony's funeral? And everybody, I remember we were all like, "Who the hell is this kid? Like, who's the young dude? Like, oh, maybe that's Cap coming back. We couldn't figure it out." Turns out that's Harley Keener, who is a kid that Tony goes to meet and have a discussion with because as a 10-year-old, he has the intellect to help Tony debug a corrupt Iron Man suit.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And that's who he is.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice little throwback.
Years later.
I shouldn't be too hard on Iron Man 3 if I'm kind of ruminating on it a little bit, because it really does introduce the concept of Tony's story arc. It's really kind of the beginning of Tony's story arc, where he sort of falls into the character that he would be in Civil War and then in Endgame as well. So there is that. I think that's fine. It was a kind of a tedious movie for me just because of how many like panic attacks he was having. And he's not really Iron Man in this movie as much. But it was necessary. I think it was a necessary investment to the overarching story. So
it's funny you say exactly that it's an investment into the overarching story, because thinking about extremists and extremists basically being the introduction of nanites. Maybe the extremist interaction also has something to do with when he becomes a super brain much later down the road.
Maybe. Well, it certainly influences what happens in the Avengers movie in this phase, right? So
you mean Age of Ultron?
Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of Ultron is supposed to be the thing that protects Earth.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't go so great.
We'll get to that. That's on the list, so I won't even say anything about it.
Yeah. Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin was kind of a weird, or as Trevor, what is his name? Slattery. Trevor Slattery. But then they did the one shot afterwards.
I really did see this movie.
Yeah, they did the one shot afterwards that confirmed that he is the Mandarin. There was something called the Marvel one shot, and it was entitled The Mandarin. Yeah, and it was in black and white, and it's when he's in prison.
It looked like some old school stuff, but it was I remember exactly what you're talking
about. And I do believe that's what confirms that he is in fact the Mandarin, and it was all an act the entire time.
And I think that's how when we get to Shang-Chi, which is like 2 phases from now, the actual Mandarin, I think that's what he's talking about when it's like we allowed this actor to keep on portraying me until I didn't want that to happen anymore, and that's when they went and kidnapped him. No,
Right.
excuse me, that's where that video comes from. Apparently, is
Yes.
yeah, that video is after they went and kidnapped him. They made him do that as they're holding him captive.
Yeah, it gets a little bit murky. I'm still not 100% sure who their real Mandarin is at this point, actually, to be
Smoke on the
honest.
water, huh?
Maybe that's what it's supposed to be like.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Anything else for Iron Man 3?
Surprised we talked about it that long.
I know, yeah, that's true. One we're not going to be talking about long is one I haven't seen like since it first came out, and I just refused to ever watch it again. And it is
We all watched it during dark times.
it was the Dark Ages, that's for sure. And it's Thor: The Dark World 2013.
Jesus.
Oof.
If there was ever a movie that made you wonder why they made a certain character into a series, it was this one.
Yeah, this
Oh
one was
no, you know
rough.
what? No, it was this one. It wasn't the other one. The other one is Ragnarok. Ragnarok's much better than this.
Oh yeah, I like Ragnarok better. This is still serious Thor, and I think that serious Thor just doesn't work.
You know, it's weird you say that.
It
So
could
Thor
work
was
with
serious until he loses his mom?
yeah, it's weird. It's very weird because this is a much much more dramatic movie because it deals with all of his family stuff. But
Jane
it's
is kidnapped. His
Jane
mom
is a
dies.
bore. I can't stand Jane.
Jane almost
Honestly,
dies from infection of the Reality Stone, right? Am I remembering
right?
this correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which they didn't call it that, but whatever. I don't remember what they called it.
I don't know. Thor's just been one we talked about this in the last episode. Thor's just been one that you can't. It's hard to pin. Him and Hulk are just hard characters to.
Hulk is easy to pin. They're not going to put in the work to do it. Thor, I'm just wondering, what are they trying to accomplish?
Yeah, they didn't go like God of Thunder. They went, all right, let's make him a himbo and funny. And I think that works, I guess, a little bit, but it does kind of disrespect the character of Thor.
You know why it works? If we're being really honest, it works because we like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's exactly.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, that's true.
And if he was in the slightest bit not funny, because he's funny, the character's not funny. But if he was in the slightest bit not funny, it wouldn't work.
That's fair.
It's kind of like Chris Pratt as a Star-Lord. I don't know who else could play Star-Lord.
That would be a hard one.
We didn't even think Chris Pratt could play Star-Lord. And now you think about it, and it's like, I don't know what were we thinking? Of course, the goofball can play Star-Lord. Now, who else could manage that other than Ryan Reynolds? And he's probably a little too playful, which is why he has to be a Merchant of Death. I'm going a little too deep. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think, Thor: Dark World, just, again, it was a drag. It does introduce the Reality Stone, which is starting to build towards the Infinity Stone saga and all of that stuff. So
this is the first stone we're introduced to?
No, the Tesseract is the first stone.
First time we see the Tesseract. So, but in Thor, it's still the first time we're introduced to a... Yeah, okay, got it.
Well, yeah, the Tesseract is in Avengers, the first Avengers.
Okay. Oh, right.
It's just not called the Space Stone.
It's called
the Tesseract.
Tesseract Spectre? No, Spear. Shit.
Basically, the Tesseract was just the housing for the Space Stone, and then Loki takes the Space Stone out of the Tesseract and uses it on his spear.
Right, like the Reality Stone was more of a mystical essence that was moving around. I just don't remember what they called it until the end, and then it forms into the stone when it's harnessed.
Yeah, it was like a blood, like a blood magic thing.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Blood magic.
But yeah, again, Thor is just a hard one to sell. I don't think was there another character in this one, like another Marvel character? Loki,
Thor,
obviously.
Loki. This is also when we think Loki dies.
Right, but then he takes up Odin.
Yeah, we find out that he's been posing as Odin, and he's holding Odin in prison, right?
Ooh, that's a bar. Holding Odin.
Holding Odin.
Yeah, I like that.
Damn. I just flipped it a couple of ways in my head, like holding Odin. Like, what is that? Oh, whoa, that does mean quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You got it.
Yeah.
Look, that's yours. I'm not doing nothing with it.
That's okay. I don't need it, but we could just leave it in the ether.
There we go.
Yeah, I think that this one is just kind of a meh movie for me. I don't know if it would rank very high in anybody's
It's
list. I
Thor.
don't know anybody who says like, "Oh, Thor: The Dark World, this is the
I don't know if
greatest."
anybody says Thor the anything.
That's true.
And I'm really not trying to come down on Thor right now. I'm just really thinking, who's a Thor fan? I mean, everybody's a Thor fan, but who's a Thor fan?
Yeah, as far as him it contained within his own little playground. Everybody
4-year-old little.
likes huh?
No, I was gonna say 4-year-old little kids like the Viking that swings a hammer, but
Yeah.
even his movies aren't made for them.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a rogues gallery. He doesn't have like a set of villains aside from Loki. Loki is just perpetually his bane, and that runs kind of tired really quick.
I mean, because they're brothers, so it's not really foul.
Yeah, it's just
And
going to
Marvel's not going to
perpetually
let
happen.
it become foul.
Yeah, it's going to be perpetually happen. Man, Tom Hiddleston really just like locked in Loki, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Like they would not let that dude die.
Of course not.
I mean, it's just surprising he dies so many times in the MCU.
But he's a illusionist, so he's
Right.
never really
It was
there.
just a
when he
trick
dies.
the whole time.
I mean, but again, one of those situations where you realize they are not going to they're not going to move around and fiddle faddle with the cast. Like now they're revamping it, but they worked this cast for 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. When you're building strong characters, you don't necessarily want to let one go prematurely. And this is pre-Thanos, so
yeah. We've never even heard of Thanos yet. In fact,
right.
Isn't it Thor: Dark World where we first see Thanos, or is that?
I think it's Avengers and Avengers. The post-credit scene of Avengers.
It's either It's either Guardians or Thor.
Oh, okay. You might be right. It's Guardians. Guardians introduces Thanos.
And I only know that because I remember it was before Ant-Man. And the irony, I remember asking the question, so does Ant-Man help us get closer to the whole Thanos situation? And the person I asked was like, nah, because they had already seen the movie. They were like, nope. And I was like, not worth watching. Sorry, I just kind of blew the load on that one. But yeah, didn't see that initially. I've seen it now, but initially I didn't see that. But I'll explain that later. Back to Thor.
Yeah. Anything else on it? No.
I was Googling what they called the Reality Stone in Thor. They called it the Aether. That's all.
Right, the Aether. Yeah.
And because of their Gaelic accents, the Aether. Are they saying ether? Or are they saying Aether? Ether?
Aether.
But yeah, they're saying Aether. The Aether's taking it over. It's inside of Jane. Sorry.
Yeah, Jane was just not a good character.
Jane, but yet we're going to be stuck with her for a whole phase.
I mean, the ghost of her, and then her coming back.
I'm talking about current time, not.
Current time. I don't know why they would continue with her, but yeah, I get you. Anyways,
Mike would have said it. I'm just not going to.
That's true. He would have. Number 3 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So things are getting a little bit better with this one, I would say. Winter Soldier is a solid action espionage film. Yeah.
I didn't expect to have so much fun when we saw this.
That's true. It was a good one. We get Bucky Barnes back as the Winter Soldier. Well, revealed as the Winter Soldier. Yeah. This one's great. Lots of Falcon. Got lots of action. Lots of kind of sort of street level almost, but also with the like espionage spy thriller, sort of what you would call it, like Jason Bourne stuff going on.
Yeah, it was a lot of I guess what you call street level spy shit stuff. I agree with that. It felt very Inspector Gadget on an adult level. Personally, I was blown away when we meet Falcon because you get Red Wing and all of that whole situation, and just seeing them. And what I was impressed by in the moment was they were using Captain America to introduce the technological side of combat, which is where we are today.
Right.
I thought that was really cool because, as a lot of people suggest, they use the movies to kind of get us comfortable with what they're going to introduce next.
Right.
And
Is
hey, great placement.
is Falcon using Stark tech or Hammer tech?
I believe originally it's his tech,
Oh, okay.
and then it's Stark tech.
Right. I know the government sort of like semi quasi owns it because it's
Yeah,
expensive, but
yeah,
yeah.
right. Because they took it from him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, what Hydra, the Tesseract. What else happens in Winter Soldier?
I mean, the big thing is just hunting down the Winter Soldier, and then the fight
Yeah,
between him and Cap,
him and
and
Cap.
Cap,
Yeah,
doing the
he
heroic
saves
thing.
Cap's life.
Yeah, and then Cap doing the heroic thing and not defeating the bad guy.
Hmm.
Wishing that he still had some humanity in him, which we find out to be true because he's just under mind control.
I was just gonna say this is when he gets the information from Black Widow, well, from Shield through Black Widow, whatever. Um, and that's when he finds out that he's been brainwashed. Like it's just a deep, what do they call that, Manchurian candidate situation.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end, or I think that's this movie. It's an Easter egg, I believe, where we see Bucky in the C. Rogers Museum,
Let's
or is
see.
it a Captain America museum? Or
Winter Soldier walks through the Captain America exhibit and sees a memorial
exhibit.
dedicated to Bucky Barnes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he basically
Yeah.
sees himself, and it kind of like, wait, what, wait, robot eye blink, robot eye
Mm-hmm.
blink. Um, the most confusing part for me though of Winter Soldier is when we see Quicksilver and Wanda. Well, I guess we just call her the Scarlet Witch in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pietro and Wanda, because this is when they kind of start blending the X-Men universes when they use these two, because they're using the
Right.
X-Men version of them here. Then we go to the show and we get a little bit of all the versions of both of them. And then you come back and you bring Scarlet Witch back to the big screen, and she's uh, uh, Avengers or superhero black magic psychopath. Just need to talk to myself and have some inner thoughts. Scarlet Witch.
Right.
It didn't really add up, but
Yeah,
yeah.
because she's a Hydra. They're both Hydra experiments, right?
Right at that time,
Yeah,
which
at that
which
time.
led me to believe she wouldn't have been able to go through, because that would have been like they're experimenting on them because they're already hero or they're already mutants, and
Mm-hmm.
they probably gave them the super soldier serum,
Right. And amplified their powers.
right, which would amplify their powers. I would expect if that's what happened to her, then Pietro would have to become something more than just Quicksilver, because she eventually becomes the Scarlet Witch.
True. Yeah, I would think so too. And Quicksilver really isn't very fast. I've
No,
always had a
not
problem with
compared
that.
to.
Not compared to the X-Men Quicksilver. If
Right.
like if you look at the two, it's not even close.
Yeah,
The
he ain't
X-Men
stopping no time.
Quicksilver is stopping time. Yeah.
Moving between bullets and sound and stuff.
Yeah, evacuating a mansion during an explosion.
Was it the Flash or was it X-Men Quicksilver that outran the speed of light?
Well, that's the Flash. The
That's
Flash
the
is,
Flash.
yeah, if the Flash is way quicker than Quicksilver could ever be,
Right.
but
Right.
that's because DC always takes their characters to the nth degree. It's like, all right, well,
Hey
if
man,
he's
if I'm human,
faster than the speed of light, there's nothing that can ever touch him.
right? He's faster than the speed of light. Superman faster than the speed and bullet. No wonder
Right.
they don't have kids.
Although Superman can beat Barry Allen, or at least run
In a
against
foot
him
race.
in a foot race. Yeah,
I assume that's him using his flying against him.
I
His
think
feet
he's
ain't on the ground the whole
giving
time.
himself a little boost. Yeah, he's
Little
giving himself
boost.
a little boost.
Dip a shoulder or something.
He puts his pump up shoes, his pump up sneakers on.
He goes, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
What was the point of those things? Was it to make your shoes tighter?
Yes, and cushion. Just
Oh
cushion.
yeah, like ankle support too, maybe, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much
It's just a 90s fad.
No, they came back. They have
Did they?
some new ones out right now.
All right. Do they got LA Gear still?
No, I literally was just talking to somebody about that. No, they ended up selling to British Knights, if you remember.
Oh, okay. I did not know
Yeah.
that. All right.
And they turned into Skechers.
Right. That's a bummer. Hold on just one sec. Okay.
So as we're listing off a little left, sorry about that, guys. We get into these discussions and it's like, all right, hold on, wait. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't even remember how we got all the way to LA Gear. But the Captain America Winter Soldier movie, we're really just introduced to, as I said earlier in the show, everything in this phase is just a new introduction. So we got introduced to Bucky. We really get introduced to Natasha as Black Widow in this one. Even though we see her as Black Widow in Iron Man 3, we really are introduced to the character. And I think that's more so because she's a soldier and she's out there with Captain America. He's a soldier. Sam is with them. He's a soldier. They're introduced to the Winter Soldier. Hydra is another army. So introducing her in this movie just made them stick with the militant thing. And again, for me, why when we get down to Pietro or Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, you have to lend something to that tie-in. And who knows? Maybe I'm jumping the gun. This was phase 2. We're in phase 5, I believe. So, for all I know, maybe in phase 6 we get Pietro can go invisible or something like that. He turns into Jack Jack. I don't know.
Pietro dead?
Yeah, he is. That's why I said he turns into Jack Jack.
Yeah,
Jack
isn't
Jack
Scar
goes invisible.
The Incredibles? Yeah.
It's Disney property, so
is Scarlet Witch dead?
No.
I mean,
she's just inside of Wanda because Wanda's strong enough to contain her now.
Right. What
Something
happened
that
to
Jean
Wanda?
Grey could never do.
I know, right? What happened to Wanda though?
Didn't she just like walk into her own abyss, not to kill herself, but to like?
She did exile herself, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, like what it would like. If they had a Phantom Zone in Marvel, I think she's put herself in a Phantom Zone,
a pocket dimension or something.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I could get that
because she
sure.
Can
She'll be
create
back.
that. So she'll be back. Essentially, is what I'm saying. Where she is of her doing. So I'm sure she can come back.
Mm-hmm. True. Number four is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians
2014. I think honestly, this is probably my favorite
of this particular phase.
Yeah. I think it's a solid introductory movie to a group of characters that, if you looked at them on paper, would have been dead on arrival. You like if you had said Guardians of the Galaxy on paper and explained everything, a talking tree that doesn't say anything but its name. Come on, like
he is a mega. No, he's a
megaflora.
Not a megaflora. Because I think they call him a gigantiflora.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sentient, so.
Right. A sentient tree. And a talking cybernetic raccoon.
Yeah, it still took forever to find out he's cybernetic. I thought he was, organic.
Right.
Nope.
No, experiments on. Yeah.
Right. Rocket is just an android.
He is, yeah. He's just a raccoon that they put a robot, basically a machine into. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, man. I still watch this one from time to time. If I feel like watching a Marvel movie, this is usually my go-to. Mm-hmm. That and I think Civil War. Both of those are my two go-tos.
I could understand. Civil War is a good one too. Mm-hmm. What do we get in this? In this, we get the introduction of the Power Stone.
Mm-hmm.
In a very cool way, actually. I think this is the only time that I can remember off the top of my head where the stone is used for exactly what you think it would be used for. It's the Power Stone. So it's just used for brute force and impact.
Mm-hmm. Blowing up planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course, in the humans' hands, it's just used for punching people. But
Punching people with purple energy blasts. Yeah.
Right. Like, oh yay. Like you could have destroyed their entire ship, but that's what you did. Got it.
Hmm.
That's why you got your ass beat, Quill. But
I mean, this is the first, and well, not the first, but the Guardians. What really makes the Guardians so great too? Well, one of the things I think is its soundtrack. The music in this first Guardians is a banger, dude. Like that whole soundtrack is something you can just listen to. It's got all the classic stuff. It's very good.
I'm gonna have to go back and look back because I actually don't know what's on that.
Oh yeah, lots of great music on the Guardians.
Might be able to find it in here, but overall, it's an intro to all of those characters that you were talking about that are the Guardians, including even Nebula. At this point, she's still with Thanos.
Yes, and Gamora. Technically with Thanos, but not really because
this is when she decides to become she's not really a traitor, right? She's been waiting for her opportunity. She finally feels like she's getting her opportunity.
Also, John C. Reilly in the Nova Corps.
Yo. Thank you for bringing up the Nova Corps. It's the biggest disappointment so far in the entire MCU is we didn't get Nova or the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
I appreciate that we did get the Lantern Corps. But the Nova, like we didn't even get the Nova Corps in Endgame.
That's true. You would think that they would, act. I mean, Miss Marvel basically yeets herself from Endgame until Captain Marvel? Captain Marvel. She only comes in at the 11th hour. That's the problem with those characters, though, is that they're so overpowered that like you can't
use them.
You can't have them in the entire battle because you can't really. That's the same thing with the Scarlet Witch thing. She's so powerful that it's like I have a hard time after watching Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I have a hard time believing that she couldn't have killed Thanos without even thinking about it.
That's a good point.
I mean, she's the embodiment of the Reality Stone.
Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way, but you're right.
The idea that she would get her ass kicked by Thanos is laughable, especially since most of the time he doesn't have all of the Infinity Stones.
He would have pulled her back into the ring just by doing this.
Yeah, that's right. Like a genie.
Shake my fist at you.
You just rub the stone and she gets sucked back in there.
Your soul is mine.
Yes.
Shang-Chung style.
Yeah. Shang-Chung, yeah. I missed that movie. Guardians is great. I think it's a
Mortal Kombat recall.
Yeah. Guardians is great. I think it's a great introductory to a unique franchise, probably the most unique franchise out of all of the MCU.
1000% true.
Movies.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, once we've gotten to where we are current, the Guardians might be more likable than the Avengers.
I agree. The Avengers never really liked each other enough.
I would never watch an Avengers Christmas special. I'm looking forward to this year's Guardians Christmas special.
Hopefully they have another one. That one would be good.
I hope they have one. I figure we're getting a Guardians movie, so we might get a Guardians Christmas special.
Maybe. Yeah. Great movie. Lots of fun. And something I definitely watch over again when I do decide to watch the MCU. Number 5 is Avengers Age of Ultron. This is one that I don't think aged well.
It did, but in the moment, it was amazing.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I felt about it. Because I remember I think we all watched this together. It was one of those things where I think we all liked it, but then you kind of think about it for a little while and it starts to not, it gets kind of stupid.
It's like, so wait, why did they create something that could, I thought you were the smartest man on the planet.
Yeah. Well, and then the smartest AI in existence decides to rip a chunk of a city out of the ground and then lift it up in the air to drop it down and destroy the world. I mean, I feel like you could have I don't know. It just feels like you could have figured out a different way. You could have done something else. You could have hacked the nukes. Exactly. That's very true. Yeah, so Ultron is kind of this. I think what it is that people felt cheated by how easily defeated Ultron was.
Yeah, by an angry Wanda.
Yeah, yeah, an
Or
angry Wanda.
maybe this was them trying to show us early how powerful Wanda was, even when she didn't know it, even though this is still mystical magic Wanda, not dark magic Wanda.
Right. And I think that that's probably fair enough, but the problem is that you didn't show Ultron to be as powerful. You know what I mean? Or
They couldn't.
powerful.
Oh my god, they couldn't.
They
Ultron,
should
think
they
about
should have.
Ultron is strong enough, he could have killed the Hulk.
Yeah, he's made of vibranium. He's a robot made of vibranium. I mean, I'm sure he could figure something out.
He could
Yeah.
destroy Mjolnir.
Right.
Or
Right.
should be able to.
Yes. Is this where Mjolnir gets destroyed?
No.
No, it's not. Okay.
No, not that I remember, at least.
Yeah. But I really think Ultron should have been a 2-movie villain, or maybe introduced sooner. Maybe in Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Yeah, if we had actually got some discussion on Ultron, maybe seen some specs in Iron Man 3,
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree that would have been better. But the way we got Ultron, I feel like Ultron should have been an Age of Ultron parts 1 and 2.
Agreed. Yeah. I think it could have definitely gone from 1 and 2, because then it would have made the Sokovia Accords make more or feel more, like
that would have been
give them more
wow.
weight. Yeah.
You would have had more detail to it.
Yes. Yes.
Everything would have had more detail.
Because as it stands, really, it's kind of like, okay, well, it is technically Tony Stark's fault Tony Stark's fault that Ultron exists, but it's not the Avengers' fault that Ultron decides to try to drop a city on the Earth.
Right. But think about this. If you don't have Ultron, you never get Vision.
True. And if you don't have Vision, you don't get White Vision. So
if you don't get Vision, you just Daredevil.
What happened to no color Vision?
Oh, White Vision.
Yeah. What happened to him?
He's on the West Coast Avengers. They haven't gotten there yet.
They haven't. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they just haven't gotten there.
They're just hanging out at the beach, sipping beers and watching the waves, because there's no problems ever on the West Coast.
Right. He don't have no family. He don't have no wife. He don't have no stone that nobody after. He chilling.
He is chilling, and he is technically Ultron, just in a, what is he made of?
3D printer.
Yeah, is he made of vibranium too, or is it like nanotech?
Vibranium, maybe nanotech, but I don't think he's made of vibranium.
Right, because he can phase, so he must be made of nanotech if he could phase.
Because they made him in that lab.
Yeah, connected Jarvis to Ultron's body.
White Vision.
Oh, White Vision.
You're talking about regular Vision.
Yes,
because you were asking about White Vision.
Right.
White Vision made of. Mm-hmm. Regular Vision is made of vibranium also.
Right, that's right, because he gets woven with vibranium. Right. White Vision is just a manifestation of Wanda's imagination.
No.
Isn't that what happens in WandaVision? No. She just creates them out of nowhere?
No. They recreate their version of Vision, trying to bring
the
Wanda
lab
down from the lab.
Right.
And it goes rogue.
Right.
Or does it go? No, it's there to kill her. It doesn't go rogue. It's sent there to kill her. And then regular Vision or the embodiment of Vision that comes from Wanda's mind basically heals the evil Vision and turns
right, and they turn into
Vision.
One. Right. Then they turn into one being. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. So Wanda can literally create people. If she had Iron Man's Iron Fleet, she could put people's personalities in those robots.
Each one of them, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the power of the reality stone.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. All right.
Or is that the power of the reality stone, or is that the power
I think that's Scarlet Witch. I think that's Scarlet Witch.
Because that's a little bit deeper than one of them stones, especially when we see them stones in a TVA drawer later on.
Although the reality stone is the stone you have to kill somebody for, right?
Yes.
So maybe isn't that the reality stone?
Is that the No, I think it is the reality stone. I think you're right.
Yeah, because the reality stone is what they have to go where Gamora sacrifices herself.
You know what? I'm not sure. No, that's the power stone.
No, the Power Stone is
No, power
Avengers.
stone is
Or I mean, Guardians.
Guardians. That's the
Yeah.
first Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
The second Guardians is when she. Hmm.
The Reality Stone is when in Endgame they go back to the tower and Red Skull is guarding it.
Correct.
Yeah, and you have to push somebody off of the cliff in order to get it.
Right. The first time that they get it, it's Thor going with Gamora.
Well, the first time the Reality Stone comes in is Thor: The Dark World because it's the Aether that crystallizes into
You're right. You're right.
into a
Okay,
stone.
yeah. So there's too many different instances to try to pinpoint.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, and then of course with Vision we get the creation of the Mind Stone too.
Mhm.
Where does that come from?
The mind.
Just out of nowhere, right? Because Vision is just created and then he has the
The
stone
mind
already in his head.
stone. Because the mind stone does basically come up in Age of Ultron because they're creating Vision.
Mm-hmm.
You have Vision's body. Vision's body is created from vibranium. So is Ultron's body, but Ultron was created by Helen Cho. What's the guy's name? Not Killmonger. The one who got the vibranium.
Victor Claw?
Ulysses. Oh, yeah.
Victor
Victor.
Claw.
Was it Victor Claw? Victor Claw.
I think so.
The Mind Stone. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of just comes up out of nowhere when Vision is created. And he's created to hold on to the Mind Stone. But we don't know where I don't remember where the Mind Stone started at.
Maybe it was in Jarvis.
Possible.
I mean, because they meld Ultron and Jarvis together to create Vision.
They did, yeah. Well, yeah, Ultron destroys Jarvis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's find out where
yeah, we're gonna do it live. Where does
I
the
got
Mind
to.
Stone come from? The stones get really hinky. The only one that's like actually cut and dry is the Time Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
the
it
Power
looks
Stone.
like once again another stone that Loki had originally. The Shatari gave him another scepter, and it contained the Mind Stone. That's crazy.
There's so much confusion because they're talking about the Tesseract,
which is so weird because that's exactly what that is. But that's the mind. That's not the Mind Stone.
It's not, because it's the Space Stone, but they treated it like the Mind Stone at the beginning. So I think that they may have made a mistake, or they may have gotten some things twisted up somehow, because the Tesseract is the Space Stone. That's why you can teleport and stuff with it. That's why they were able to open the portal for the Chitauri to come in.
Right.
The Mind Stone is from Vision. It's on his forehead. So I don't know how they're together.
Yep. And everything you look up in Marvels tells you that it comes from the Tesseract, basically. But that's...
What stone does Vision? Stone.
Look at that, guys. We did the work and still don't know. We seen the movie.
I actually did.
There.
I did try to. Yeah. He has the Mind Stone. Okay. I don't get it.
But I can't call it either. I'm sitting here too, like, this doesn't make sense because I just saw
too much confusion. Maybe you guys can let us know in the comments. You can yell at us about getting it wrong, because I'm sure we're misled somewhere.
I'm looking at. I done looked at Marvel and Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mind Stone as a source for the scepter.
Right. I don't want to get the information from the comic books because that's not what the MCU did. I'm trying to see what the MCU did. And the MCU they just keep going back to the scepter.
Yeah. Well, all right. Whatever. Let's move on to the last movie. Ant-Man, 2015.
Who's that? Who's there?
True. Very true.
This is another.
It's so unnoticed. And honestly, it's for a reason.
Pretty good though.
It's not terrible. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think Paul Rudd's, fun as a Marvel character. I think Ant-Man's kind of a dumb character, though.
Yep, that's the problem. You like every character in Ant-Man is more likable than Ant-Man. Wasp is more likable.
True.
Hank, his dad, is more. I think Hank, yeah, Hank's his dad is more likable. Uh, Wasp's mother, whose name I can't remember right now, is more likable character. Hell, the villain is more likable than Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's hard. I just don't really like Ant-Man as a character. I never really understood why he'd be useful. I get getting to be able to shrink down to sizes and then be strong, but you're really only like you're probably not as strong as Captain America.
No, but Captain America can't turn into a skyscraper.
That's true, but Ant-Man's super slow as a skyscraper,
He's
and
super slow as a skyscraper.
he can't really do much. Yeah. So
Well, he can also communicate with ants and I think birds. No,
I don't know. I mean, he can definitely communicate with ants. That's for sure. He's got that down pat. Which would come in handy if you're ever in a very tiny battle.
I think ants can help you in a big battle too. But
maybe
if you get the right ants to send that electric shock.
Hey, look, ants do outweigh humans on Earth, so just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
There are more ants in weight than humans on Earth,
and there are some big humans.
There are some very big humans out there. Yeah. Yeah. So not much to remark on here, honestly. You get the Pym particle, let's see. Scott Lang, he's released from prison with burglary charges. He trains with Hank Pym, and the Yellow Jacket is the villain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think Cross, if I remember, yeah. I think Cross is the villain. They steal the Yellow Jacket because Hank created the Yellow Jacket.
Yes, that's true. They steal the Yellow Jacket from Cross. Right. You're right.
Yeah, because I want to say she's the one who starts like phasing in and out of the quantum zone or the quantum. Yeah. And that's why they have to go in and save. In the second one, I think they go and save
the mother.
Sorry, yeah, the mother.
Yeah. They save, what's her name? Evangeline Lilly. I think that's her name.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. This is the introductory to the quantum realm, right? So this is where we get how Avengers Endgame is actually possible,
right?
Which I think is kind of a cop out.
Playing with the times,
playing with timelines, playing with, this is where we also get, the time authority stuff. Which kind of bugs me because it's like if you're going into the quantum realm, you're manipulating time in some way. Why isn't the TVA like all over the quantum realm?
Because he's a scientist.
He's a scientist. Okay, fair enough. And Kang is down there too, but we don't find him out until Ant-Man 3. So
yeah, they don't know that we was Kangs.
Small Kang, very very tiny Kang.
Very small Kang.
Yeah. Subatomic Kangs there.
Damn.
Yeah. But anyways, anything else on Ant-Man, man? Iron Man, man.
Iron Man, man. Oh, no, man. Easter egg. This is when the what do they call it? The Sokovia Accords?
Sokovia
Accord. This is when all the Accords start, and they have Bucky. And I want to say this is actually how he ends up in the place to kill the current standing Black Panther before we get into phase 3.
Right. King T'Chaka. Yeah. Yeah. And this is all leading up to a much better phase in phase 3. So.
Oh my God, so much better. Introduction to new characters. That's the one thing. And I think maybe that's why it's not having the same feeling. They're not introducing any characters on the big screen. All the characters they're really introducing are the TV characters. And that I don't think is translating to the audience the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. And, not some, there's some, I think there's probably, at least one decent film that I like in this. Keelan, what was your favorite out of the 6? Slim pickings, I know.
Yeah, it's out of two. It's out of
Hmm.
Guardians and Age of Ultron. I think it's Guardians.
Yeah.
I think it's Guardians for sure. Winter Soldier. Okay, so I'll do that. So
Winter
Guardians is
Soldier's
my
good
first
too.
one. Age of Ultron is my second one. Winter Soldier is three. Iron Man 3, which I barely remember watching, comes after that. No, sorry, Ant Man comes after that. Iron Man 3, which I hardly remember watching, comes after that, and Dark World was just that bad.
Yeah, agreed. I think I might switch up Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron,
Hmm.
but I'm pretty much where you are. Guardians first for sure. I think that's probably the most solid movie out of all of these. If Ultron had been a two-parter,
Yeah,
it could have
would have
been
been
up there.
better.
It could have been
I,
up there.
so, and the only thing I have to say on that is, as much as I enjoy Winter Soldier, I think more got accomplished in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it sets the stage more for
Hmm.
sure.
And we know I love a movie that pushes shit forward. Like,
That's
please
yeah,
get to the point.
overarching narratives and stuff. Yeah, Winter Soldier is much more contained within the sort of Captain America, universe.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, so yeah, I think we can both agree. Guardians of the Galaxy is the best movie of Phase Two.
Guardians. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Cool. Well, anything else you got, man? You want anything else?
No, I'll say it again. This is probably the most unwatched, or the least watched at least, phase of all of Marvel, in my opinion. Still trying to figure out how they hit the 5 billion mark, but six movies. I think only two of them actually made 1 billion. So you add it all together, I guess numbers add.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not upset. It's just curious where that extra 3 billion came from. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's be real. It's like 1.5 that we're really curious on, because you add everything else up, you probably get to about 3.5, right?
Yeah, I think all of these movies almost made a billion if they
Yeah,
didn't make a
almost.
billion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everything is over 700 for sure.
Yeah.
I know only two of them crossed the $1 billion mark.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Cool, man. Well, if that's it, I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
I
Yeah.
believe that's all we have for phase two. Wanted it to be more exciting, but I mean, you know what? It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think going through this, as you know, we all know that this is all well trodden grounds,
Mhm.
and that's why we're sort of labeling these postmortems, because it's been a long time since these movies have come out, and we're looking at them with the context of understanding what's going on now,
Right.
and maybe hopefully looking at them a little bit differently. And trying to see, because I think this has been illuminating for me. I said this to Keelan before we started. Marvel's got a lot of misses, and it's only because of the hits that sort of subsidize everything else
Yeah.
that the misses are allowed to sort of keep going. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I look back looking through this, and I realized that it was about 2013, 2014, the first time I was like, all
mhm,
right, I guess that was fun while it lasted. And then we got to Age of Ultron, and um not Ant Man, but right, because I didn't watch Ant Man again until after Infinity Wars. So, but
right.
once we started getting into the phase three, I was like, oh, all right, I'm here.
Mhm. Yeah,
You got
yeah.
me.
I
And
think
the TV
phase
stuff started going.
Yeah, no, I think phase 3 really hooks everybody for sure.
Mhm.
Um, although, let's see, phase 3, I can give you a little sneak preview for our next conversation on pop culture crisis. Phase 3 is Captain America's Civil War. Then we have Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Captain Marvel, The Inhumans, and Infinity War.
Mhm.
There's some
That's a lot of
pretty
movies.
some pretty solid flicks in that
Mhm.
lineup. So
I'd say it was what, 11.
what's that?
I said that was what, 7 or 11, something like that.
6 movies.
6. Oh wow.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 8.
Eight. Eight.
8 in this phase. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and to the post-mortem comment, now I agree. This, going back through these, it feels like when you go through the closet or the attic or the storage unit and you find that photo album that you actually want to look through.
Hmm.
Feels like that.
Yeah, definitely. And, Pop Culture Crisis is where we don't review a movie and we just kind of talk about pop culture stuff. So it'll always be a free form conversation. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. What is your favorite movie in Marvel Phase 2? Let us know in the comments. Also, consider giving us a thumbs up and a subscription to our YouTube page. We're trying to get to 150 subscriptions, and we're almost there. I think we're at 139 right now. So 11 more subs and we'll hit our goal, and then we'll move that goal down the line, and we're trying to get to monetary amount of subs, which is 1,000. Yeah. We're getting there. We're about 14% there. So
hey, it's better than zero. We're
That's
getting
right.
there.
Absolutely. And we can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. We really appreciate it. We are on every Sunday and Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. So feel free to come back and join us. We also have lots of videos in the back catalog. We have over 200 videos on our channel. So if there's something that you've seen before and want to know what we thought about it, their chances are pretty good that we might have a review about it. So go check that out on our page. If you want to check out what we do with our other friends and as our side projects, you can check this page out right here. This is all of the podcasts that we do with our friends and our community. They all have Facebook pages and YouTube pages. There are 2 Twitch channels that you can check out. And there's some Rumble and Spotify pages as well. Basically a podcast every day of a week, but Mondays, because everybody hates Mondays. That's what we do. So please go check out those channels. And I think I'm going to say thank you again. And for the Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
And I am Keelan.
Good night.
Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy that Wednesday.